Today, our topic is Bitcoin. Now, it's been a volatile year for Bitcoin as the cryptocurrency came crashing down from its all-time high near $20,000 per Bitcoin. Of course, that was last December. But the last 2 months, take a look at this, up 25%. Right now, Bitcoin is on pace for its best quarter of the year, but there is another month to go. So let's hop into the Bloomberg and take a look at the technicals on Bitcoin. This is a pretty interesting chart. You can view it using the GTV function in the Bloomberg, and we're comparing Bitcoin to the dollar on the year. Now, in orange, we have Bitcoin spot. In white, we have the dollar index, both in the beginning of the year trending lower. But since April, we have a bit of a divergence here with the dollar index taking off, Bitcoin going lower. And this is the third time right now where we have had both of these currencies above the 50-day moving average, telling us that there's pretty decent near-term momentum. We had that happen earlier this year, here and here. Now, right now, look at this, Bitcoin and the dollar, both above the 50-day moving average. But if this more recent inverse relationship is to believed, it may suggest that only one will survive. The dollar's charting relatively bullish. That may suggest that there could be some bearish action ahead for Bitcoin. To talk more about this, I'd like to bring in Bloomberg intelligence strategist Mike McGlone. And Mike, you joined us many times since March, but your last time talking about Bitcoin, or one of the last times, Bitcoin, I think, was right below 8,000, and you said to sell it. So what are your thoughts now before we take a look at your chart?
The same. It's a bear market. You're supposed to sell rallies in a bear market.
So this is a time period that you would definitely be selling?
Yes.
So let's hop into the Bloomberg, take a look at your chart, and wow, you have a lot going on here. So talk to us
Well, we'll start with the Bitcoin. You can see Bitcoin in yellow still trending down. It's had its bounce. The significance of this chart is look at open. This is short interest. The most we can really determine, including what's in the market and in futures, CME futures, CBOT futures. We had a decent spike in short interest, short covering, market goes up, but we had the same amount of kind of pull off short covering, the market's gone up half as much. So diminishing returns in markets going up with short interest. In the meantime, I guess the magenta line is the Bloomberg Galaxy crypto index. It's made a new low. Now, if Bitcoin catches up to that low, it should be around 5,000. It's more likely to do that. Bitcoin's caught a little bit of a bid from Abigail mentioned is emerging markets are declining. So that's really helping Bitcoin. Really, it's the benchmark. But overall, the trend is down. Should be looking to sell rallies. And the key thing is diminishing returns from short covering in Bitcoin.
Okay, so rough levels, where would you be selling the futures for, and what would be a stop level? Rough
levels in terms of futures, this is good levels to sell. Your stop should be right around these levels, maybe sustaining above 8,500, and the target should be getting to around 5,000. Now, one thing to remember about bear markets, they have to make it difficult, so that could be kind of hard. Could tick around there, but overall, this is probably an area to look to be selling the market, and futures are a good way to do that, and you see that happening. People are doing that, which is keeping a little bit bid. The shorts have gone up, but overall the trend's down. Supposed to sell rallies in bear markets.
So you mentioned that futures are a great way to trade Bitcoin. Liquidity, open 24 hours a day. You have a really interesting chart here of liquidity between two of the different markets. Let's take a look at this chart here. And
the significance is, and the yellow line you see, this is CME Bitcoin futures times 5, so you can be equivalent. The total amount of Bitcoin open interest in CME futures. Look at the trend. It's higher. It's equivalent of 13,000 Bitcoins or so compared to the CBOE Bitcoin futures. CBO, right? Relatively flat. It just doesn't have that oomph that you're seeing in open interest. And as a futures trader, the number one thing I always like to look at for, what's that open interest? What's it doing? Because if you're getting in and there's decent open interest, you can get out.
So you would have been more attracted to those CME?
Well, it's also an indication that the CME futures are winning the battle for liquidity in the Bitcoin future space.